All right, hey everybody, we are live again. Welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast, live Wednesday night. We are doing this live here on Facebook. I want to thank everybody for joining us, whether you're following along on our podcast or you're checking us out here live on Facebook. We appreciate you being here. Tonight's going to be a really cool conversation, guys. You're going to get nothing from the title. I'm going to hit you with the title. We're going to cut away 60 seconds to our intro, then we'll be back. I cannot wait to see your guys' response to this. Tonight, we are going to talk about Gorillas in the Mist. Many people understand that they can at any time become the target of a violent criminal assault. These same people know that they have a life, family, and property worth defending. Criminals understand that violence is its own language. Violence is not the sport of competition. Violence is not the art of fighting. Violence is about one thing: destruction. There are those who believe that violence, even in self-defense, is morally wrong. Then there are good people like you who know that defending yourself, family, and others, as well as your property, is not only a personal right, but a duty within a civilized society. Understand, violent assaults are won before they occur. People who learn strategy survive. People who do not will not. For those brave people who believe life is precious and worth defending, welcome to the Education of a Weaponized Man podcast. All right, guys, we are back. Okay, I hit you guys just before we cut away to our intro, hit you with a very interesting title, which I'm sure gave you zero insight into what we're going to talk about tonight. But I'm going to call this episode Gorillas in the Mist. Okay, so what am I talking about? Well, most people are probably familiar with Dian Fossey and her study. They've seen the movie. Sigourney Weaver was in a movie about it. I'm sure there's been other movies about this, but she studied the mountain gorillas of Rwanda and Uganda. And this is what the theme is: Gorillas in the Mist, studying the gorillas, right? Now, just a general premise, what does she do? Well, you want to understand something, you got to study something. You want to understand mountain gorillas, right? There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of people's speculations and stuff like that. She actually went up there and studied them. And that's how you start to figure out what something or someone is really like. Okay, so tonight's Gorillas in the Mist, because we need to talk about aggressive, violent people. We have a client of ours, and I'm going to give him a shout out, Jaron Yee. He's a pharmacist. He lives in Regina, Saskatchewan. And in the course of his running his pharmacy, he has to deal with a lot of people that are coming in that are, we always say, right, in the corporate world, we'll talk about rude, inappropriate, aggressive, and violent individuals. Well, he runs a pharmacy where you're talking a lot of methadone users and different things, and people are coming in and they're demanding that they get drug prescriptions refilled. They want their narcotics. They're demanding money. He's been robbed. I mean, I did some work within the pharmaceutical community because, it was shocking to me at first, but then it makes complete sense of how high a target they are. They deal with a lot of violence within the course of their business. Okay, so the reason I'm sharing this is because we doing privates with Jaron. We do privates once every couple of weeks. We're doing them remotely, but last private, he had a lot of questions about just dealing with very, very aggressive, borderline violent individuals, and not even borderline, some of them are violent. And the conversation that we went into is like the study of gorillas. So tonight I actually want to share with people. I'm not just going to talk specifically about Jaron's situation, although I might reference it a little bit. I thought, listen, if he's got this problem within the context of his work, there are so many other people that have the same problem within the context of their lives, not just their work, but their lives. So tonight I'm going to share with you some of the inside knowledge from studying criminal violence for 27 years, right? So this is like Dian Fossey opening up her journal and saying, here's what I know about the Gorillas in the Mist. Okay, so let's start off with this. One of the things, and I quickly looked for the graphic because I've used the graphic. We use it in a lot of our courses, and I use the graphic in other things that we've done, but I couldn't quite find it in time for tonight's episode. But I just want you to understand something. We use a thermometer, right? And so everyone knows what a thermometer looks like. You get the big bubble on the bottom, and then it goes up. And of course, when the temperature goes up, or it depends what you're measuring, the thermostat goes up or down, hot, cold. Everyone gets that. We use a thermometer to measure aggression, because that's one of the first points that and feel free to interrupt, guys, with any points that you want to put in when it's appropriate. Just interrupt and throw those points in, because I'm going to cover some of the big ones. But if you are like, oh, this is important, throw it in. But we have our thermometer. And on the bottom of it, because violence and aggression can be measured. It always moves in a linear fashion. It's either going up or it's going down. Okay, it's not random. It's not sporadic. It's moving up or it's moving down. Now, can it jump? Yes, it can jump. It's like being in fucking Alberta. If you don't like the temperature, wait 5 minutes and it'll change. Aggression can be down here in a trigger phase, then it can shoot straight up to escalation. You can be in a life and death situation from a fraction of a second earlier where things seemed okay. So yes, it can jump, but it moves up and it moves down. It's not random. We can measure it. I'm hitting that point hard. So the thermometer at the bottom is the trigger phase, meaning everyday stress that we all face. Okay, wake up late for work, car battery's dead, you're out of toothpaste, you stub your toe, you burn your fucking toast, all this shit that just got you agitated. You get into the office, somebody says good morning, and you say, yeah, what's the fucking good about it? And you, I mean, like you're just agitated. But that's trigger stress. That's at the bottom, right? Are you gonna assault somebody? You're gonna murder somebody? No, it's just day-to-day shit. Day-to-day, week-to-week, can be even month-to-month, but we live in this pressure bubble. For most of us, there's a pressure release valve. We get home, we sit down, or we go to Starbucks, we have a tea, we get some time, we read a book, we go for a walk, spend time with our kids, and we decompress. So that's the trigger phase. Middle is the escalation phase. That's where people, what we call, harden. So now the day-to-day trigger stuff, which normally can be decompressed, isn't decompressed. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? Then all of a sudden, Sunday and then next Monday, and all of a sudden we're living in escalation. We're hardened. We're agitated. We're annoyed. We're living in a state of anxiety or frustration. And many people will recognize this because not only is the aggression continuum used to measure aggression in other people, it is used to measure aggression in ourselves. Every one of us has been in escalation phase for days, if not weeks, if not months at times in our life. Think back to one of the most stressful, hardest times of your life, and you were probably living in escalation. Now, does that mean that you assaulted somebody? No. But it means that you were agitated, you were easily annoyed, you had a short fuse, a sensitive trigger, all that kind of stuff. Okay, because there's low, there's mid, and then there's high escalation. But then we're going to go to the one step higher. The escalation builds. There's no pressure release, and now all of a sudden there's a crisis phase. That's the top of the thermometer. And crisis phase is when bad shit happens. Now, crisis phase, bad shit happening mean we could take our anger, our frustration, our anxiety, our worry, our fears, and we could express them onto somebody else. It means we're attacking somebody else verbally, mentally, emotionally, or physically, or all of the above. So how bad is the attack? Depends. There's lots of people that would never physically harm anybody, but they're emotionally abusive people. And when they hit a high escalation, they cross into crisis and they unload on somebody. Somebody gets put on the X. Somebody gets put on ground zero. Okay, does this kind of make sense? So far, anything you guys want to add to this? It's pretty general, but I need everyone to have this image of this thermometer trigger, low escalation, mid escalation phase, and then high is the crisis. And that's where it becomes something bad's happening. We're expressing. Okay, whatever's impressed must and will get expressed. Okay, so having said that, we're talking about gorillas in the mist. Here's the first thing I want you to know. Let's create a term for this right now. Here's protector insight number one. I'm going to share protector insights as we go. That means that if you're weaponized, this is what you would be doing. If you say, well, I don't know if I'm weaponized, here's your insider tip, do this. Okay? So protector insight number one. Everybody is conditioned and trained to look at violence and escalation from the bottom to the top. Trigger, mid-escalation, crisis, bad shit happening. That's why it's a crisis. Everybody's conditioned to look, right? You leave. Oh, I'm going to have to reset my mic. I can hear it popping. Okay, hold that thought. All right, I'm back. Sorry. Okay, so everyone's trained to look bottom to top. Meaning that, I'll use Jaron. If he goes to work as a pharmacist, when he unlocks his shop in the morning, he opens his door and he goes in and he gets ready, he greets his staff, he gets ready for a day of greeting his customers, helping people, fulfilling them, all of their medical and health needs. What do you think his state of mind is in regards to violence, in regards to aggression, in regards to inappropriate or rude people? It's probably, now, this is not him because we've trained him differently, but generally speaking, he goes in ready to put on the smile, ready to be professional, ready to greet his customers and his clients and help them, most of whom are great, amazing people who genuinely need his help. This just makes sense. Everyone's like, of course, that's what you would do. But what happens when you're in this very professional state of customer service, right? Friendly demeanor, helpful, but all of a sudden that threat walks through your door, that rude, inappropriate, aggressive, or violent individual walks through your door, and all of a sudden the entire energy, the entire dynamic changes. Now, what state of mind is he most, what state of mind is he in when those people enter into his world?
Well, he's currently in his professionalism for like his business and talking to his customers and his staff and stuff like that is where he was. So, again, it depends on.
Well, just generally, where's he at? Where are most people at? You said he's in his professional self. Where's he at?
Yeah, he's day-to-day business. Not most people not on their radar. They're going to think that it's a blindside.
Okay, he's bottom to top mentality. Meaning he's having a great day, he's happy, he's serving his customers, the place is busy, he's happy, blah, 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 all this great stuff. So now this person walks in and this person's in a very different state. Maybe they're walking in an agitated state and they're rude. Maybe they're inappropriate. Maybe they're aggressive, maybe they're violent. But they walk in, the problem is, where is he? He is bottom to top. Why? Because like you said, well, I'm being professional. Yes, okay, true. But here's the problem with that. When you are trained to go bottom to top, what happens is you're professional with the people that are professional. The people that are courteous, you're courteous. The people that are nice, you're nice. There's no problem with that. That's easy to do. How hard is it to be nice to somebody that's being nice to you, unless you're the problem? If you're in mid-escalation because there's shit going on in your life, because some other part of your world is fucking burning, and so you're in mid-escalation, and somebody smiles at you and says good morning, and says, would you be able to help me with this? I have a request. Could you look up on my file this? And you're like, you should come in and should already have your prescription. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're the problem, it's easy to be nice to people that are being nice. So it's easy to be nice to people that are being nice. But when this aggressive person walks in, you know what happens? We feel it. You sense it. You see it. You hear it. You feel it. You know it. But guess what? You're still nice. And that's good. You can be nice. You can put the smile on. But what I'm saying is you're actually genuinely still in victim prey mindset. Why? Conflict avoidance. You're conditioned to go bottom to top, meaning you're conditioned to say there is no threat, right? So there's no threat. So I'm in my happy self, happy professional self. Then what I'm conditioned to do is when this person walks in, even though I've seen the signs, I've seen it in his body language, I hear it in the tone of his voice, I see it in the gaze from his eyes, before there's ever even an interaction between us, I see it, feel it, hear it, sense it coming, I know where this person is at, and I still have my smile on, which is good. But inwardly, I'm still at the bottom of my trigger. I'm sitting there waiting, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, and guess what this does? This gives that person the initiative. Does that make sense? It gives them the initiative. And guess what now? They come in and they're up here. Right away, they're fucking rude. Right away, they're aggressive. Right away, they're inappropriate. Right? And yet you knew it. You saw it. You really think somebody comes in and they have the most beautiful, radiant smile on their face. Their energy is love, peace, and harmony. They're just out living their life. And then all of a sudden they get up to you and they blindside you with toxic bullshit? Nah, that's not how this is. You can see it, hear it, and feel it, and smell it, touch it, taste. Your senses, your faculty senses are very attuned to this. And let's prove it. Think of one person you know that when they walk in the morning to your place of work they get up from bed with one person that you know, and when they walk in the room, you can tell by the way they're walking, the way they hold themselves, the way they're breathing. Don't fucking talk to them until they've had at least 2 cups of coffee. A coworker friend walks by and you go, oh shit, what's the matter? You see him in the parking lot, what's the matter? The second, what's the matter? What do you mean there's nothing wrong? No, something's wrong, I can tell. The second you got out of the car, the way you close the door, the way I can tell. We know shit. Okay? So this person walks in and we are in our low escalation smile. We hope. We have conflict avoidance. We hope that our smiles and our niceness, we can overcome this. But here's what's happening. They come in and they're in, let's say they're in mid trigger. Well, still in the bottom, but they're mid trigger. Let's say they're high trigger. Let's say they're lower mid escalation. Let's just stop there, okay? They come in and we are still down at the bottom. What happens when we're at the bottom and that interaction starts?
You're going to be behind. Like you're going to be forced to react every time. Everything they do, you react to it. They do something else, you react to it. So you're always a step or two behind them.
Yes.
Again, they have the initiative.
Yes.
Like you said.
Listen to what he said. You're behind. Now, are you behind physically? You could be if it became something physical. But let's just say it's not physical. So let's just take the physical part of it out of it. How am I behind, Dustin? If not physical, if it's not, I am behind physically, but let's say it never goes physical. We don't have to worry about that. How am I behind?
Because you're still kind of in denial in a sense. Like you're not seeing it for what it is, right? You're still hoping that you're like, oh man, this person's pissed. They're at this level, but you so badly not want that to be the case.
Yes.
So you try to come under to see like, oh, maybe I can somehow bring them down without actually using any of the proper techniques and stuff like that.
Yes. I'm going to ask you a question in a second, Brad. Yes, you are behind them. You are reacting to them because of denial, because of conflict avoidance, because most people go, I don't fucking want to do it. Not today. Oh, here's this asshole again. Oh, shit. Like, and you might not even know the person, but you're like, oh, here's this energy again. I know exactly how this shit's going to go. Exactly. Yet you're behind. You're in denial. Okay. Now, amateurs always, what do amateurs always do versus what do professionals always do, Brad?
Amateurs always talk hardware. Professionals talk software.
Okay.
Right.
But amateurs also always what? They're behind. So they're reacting.
Underreact, overreact, or they freeze.
Okay, perfect. Let's go for round 3. Amateurs react, professionals
act.
Thank you. That's the response I wanted. But we got 2 other ones in on top of it, which are all 100% true. Okay?
Case of too much.
Exactly. Amateurs react. Now, you know what's interesting here? Let's make a distinction. I'm the professional. I said I'm in my professional business self. Here I am in my business, and I'm professional. I'm smiling, I'm engaging, I'm helping my customers, and I'm genuinely loving it. Then this person walks in that is rude, inappropriate, aggressive, or violent. I'm in my professional self, but what happens? I go into denial. I have conflict avoidance. I don't want to have to deal with this. I hope that if I just stay... Now, listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't stay calm. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be calm and cool and surgical and precise like a professional. But what I'm saying is that person that sits and smiles but is in denial is doing none of that shit. You are reacting and allowing this individual to do exactly what they want, which is seize the initiative and set the tone and set the pace of this engagement, of this encounter, of this conversation. Does that track? Amateurs react, professionals act. Thanks, Brad. Yeah, professionals act.
I'll throw something in there too, like, and maybe this is a bit of a question / comment, but is it not fair to say too that an amateur, like, their choice is to react, right? And if they're untrained, we always say trained and restrained, which is sort of what you're alluding to.
Yep.
You're like, you don't have to necessarily fly off the handle, whereas someone who's untrained and unrestrained, is it not where if they don't know what to do, like, so we already know they're behind, right? They're kind of denying that it's even happening. But even if they were to accept that it is happening, if they're untrained and they don't know what to do about it, are they not sort of stuck in a dichotomy of either staying under and reactive or having to go to the other end of the spectrum and actually attempt to go over top of this person, but completely unrestrained? Do you know what I mean? Like, does that make 100%. Sense? Like, I guess what
it makes total sense.
You're sitting in the pharmacy as a staff member and you're like, well, I either got to just sort of take this and eat this and deal with this and I don't know how to stop it, or I have to totally freak out on the person, which I know I'm not allowed to do. I'll get fired.
Yes. Okay. Let me 100%. And you're 100% accurate. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to reframe a couple words. So I'll reiterate, paraphrase to make sure that I have what you're saying. And then you can correct me if I'm wrong. And then I'm going to reframe a little bit. What he's saying is that when these people come in and they're in this denial and they're reactive and all this type of stuff, they are stuck, right? Because this person has the initiative and this person is like, if they do not know what to do, if they have no skills, no strategies, no tactics for how to deal with this, what he's saying is that, well, they're effectively stuck. So they're going to grossly underreact or grossly overreact or they're going to fucking freeze. 100% true. Only I would say they're not stuck. They're at the mercy. And I'm going to make a distinction here because when you say, oh, I'm stuck, that implies that you have two places that you can go, right? I can go left or I can go right, but I'm stuck in the middle. When you don't know what to do, you're not stuck. You are at the mercy. Does that make sense? You're at the mercy of it because we need to differentiate that because I'd rather you get stuck. We all train to physically defend ourselves. Strategies, tactics, and tools to circumvent violent people. But guess what? It is very conceivable and plausible that as I'm being ambushed by multiple violent criminal predators, that I may not get to the strategy that I want to use. I may die going from this strategy to this strategy, from this tactic to that tactic. They may prevent me from getting there. I may get stuck and can't get to my next strategy, and I may die. But I wasn't at the fucking mercy of. This is why we have to be very careful with the word victim. You have an elite soldier, tier 1 operator, trains, and everyone understands the level these guys operate at. They go into a conflict. In that conflict, as they are attempting to, fight and defend and do what they need to do to carry out their mission objective, one of them is killed. Do you call him the victim? Don't ever call somebody that is trained, somebody that is in the fight, somebody that is taking action, don't ever call them a victim because they're not a fucking victim. Because people become victims when you have them at your mercy and they don't know what to fucking do. They have no options. That is when we truly become victimized because we have no power. Dying on the battlefield, dying in the fight is honorable. You're far from a victim, you're a fucking warrior. Okay, so back out to our analogy in here. They are at the mercy of the guerrilla because they don't understand its behavior. They don't understand its want. They don't have any strategies, tactics, or tools for how to deal with this person. What we're going to do right now is, because I don't want to get this too deep without me flipping this for you, right? What I want you to understand is what Dustin's saying is that if you give them the training, they are no longer at the mercy of these people. They actually are in the game. They have strategy, tactics, and tools to countermeasure these people, to seize back the initiative, done in a very professional, calm, cool demeanor. Matter of fact, when you understand and have the tools and the strategies and tactics for how to deal with these people, that's how you stay calm and cool. Because there's no uncertainty. You just deal with the realities. Yeah, this situation sucks. I wish this guy wasn't in here with a knife. I wish this person wasn't in here threatening my life. But thank God I know what I'm doing. I'm not stuck. He actually came in thinking he was going to get the initiative on me because he came in with the intent. You understand this, right? You have a guy that's walking around fucking pissed off. He's not going to harm anybody physically, right? But he's pissed off. And anytime he sees somebody smile, he thinks it's his personal mission in life to make them to wipe that smile off their face and make them frown. So he'll say something rude and inappropriate. He'll act aggressive or violent, even though he might not physically. I've never hurt somebody. That's just their mission. They have the initiative and they come at you. But if we have the training, we can learn to seize the initiative back. And when you understand how, the emotion doesn't come into it because you're not at the mercy of them. They're not pushing your buttons. And everyone knows what it's like. You got kids, you know what it's like. They can push your fucking buttons. Right? So we all know what I'm talking about here. But then you also have the days where the kids try and you're above it. You're like, nah, you don't have the initiative. All you got is a dirty diaper. You've got no initiative. I got the power. You know what I mean? And you learn how to communicate. And I don't mean communicate like as adult. You get what I mean. There's different types of communication. You learn to communicate with your child. Even an angry child, you learn to communicate with them. It's not always the easiest thing, but you do. And so, okay, so here's what we're going to do real quick. What I'm getting at, and the number one thing I want you to have from our study of the guerrillas over 27 years, is most people look bottom to top. What I do with Jaron, what I do with all my clients, doesn't matter if this is in a professional environment or this is just, living your life and you encounter rude, inappropriate, aggressive, or violent people, is right away you're taught. Here's the. Sorry, I got my hand. It looks like I'm cradling two balls. These are the big bubbles at the bottom of the thermometer, right? You have the trigger phase down here in my hand. That's what I'm holding here. And then it goes up to the escalation crisis. And here's the other one. Okay. What we're going to do is we teach people to flip one. Okay. Good guys flip one. What does this mean now? This means the start point's at the bottom. Most people go, oh, bottom to top, start trigger. No, we start crisis mindset. Take the high ground. What does this mean? This means that I will always, you're in your professional self, you're smiling, you're nice. That person walks in, that triggers the messenger of intuition, tells you a gut instinct, a hunch, a nagging, persistent thought. You find yourself making a dark humor comment to somebody, apprehension, fear being the highest alarm level. Something goes off. We see it, we hear it, or we feel it, and we go, this is a potential problem. Instantaneously, my mindset goes right to crisis mode. I start at the top. Now, this does not mean I said my mindset, my perception, my filters, my blueprints that open up and come online go to the very highest blueprints. The life and death, critical incident shit. Does this make sense? This is no different than just literally on your computer, something starts to happen and you go, fuck, is this a flood? Is there a tornado? But on your computer, you have a contingency plan and you double click, you open it up. You're not doing anything yet. You're not running around grabbing shit. You're not freaking out. You're not doing that stuff. You just open up the software. You start, see, I go into work and I'm the professional self, meaning how do I engage with my customers professionally? I'm not inappropriate, I'm professional. You know, you make the right emotional connections, use the right amount of wit or humor and seriousness. Like you have this professional vibe, you understand that. Well, we can do the same thing when it comes to violence. I just put on a different hat. We wear different hats all day long. You're a different person in your professional life than you are with your kids, I hope, than you are with your wife. We switch hats all day long and understand what's appropriate, what's professional, and we're masters at doing it. So I can be a professional. Jaron can walk in and he's a pharmacist. And he behaves not just in line with their standards, but he exceeds their standards of professionalism. But at the same time, because he recognizes the very real threats to his safety and that of his staff and other patrons, not only in his business, but in his life, he has taken upon himself to study the gorillas. And so he studies them. And he learns and he gets blueprints. And he has blueprints of like, what happens when they come in, put a gun in my face and start pulling the trigger? What happens if they grab one of my staff members and hold them hostage and threaten to cut their throat or shoot them or hurt some patient? Like every blueprint, you know, that's one of the hard parts about developing the right mindset or taking what I call the high ground is before you can own the high ground, you have to imagine what's happening, what you're seeing from up there. To prepare for the worst, you first have to imagine the worst. And so we've given him the blueprint. So what happens is the second this person walks in and has a threat, he starts at crisis. Those blueprints are open. Now, I'm not saying he's not expecting death and destruction, but he's aware that it's the potential and he's there. He's up there ready. And then here's what happens. As this criminal comes in and he starts here, he thinks, I got the initiative. And then he is going to progressively escalate. I need you to fill this prescription. I'm sorry, sir, you don't actually have any refills. I know I fucking have refills because actually, matter of fact, sir, this prescription doesn't even look like it's real. I fucking this. He's escalating. He gets the no. He doesn't get what he wants. Bah, escalate. The difference is he's not escalating with you down here. You're already up here. You take his, yes, sir, can I help you? Yet in your mind, you go, I know exactly what this guy's going to start to do. I'm looking for the signs. I'm studying him. The blueprints are open. You go back, look, I'm sorry, sir, you actually don't have any refills. Matter of fact, sir, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this doctor. I'm sorry, sir, have you never been here before? We have to validate these, whatever his protocols and procedures are, he starts in a very professional way having this interaction. The difference is he's up here. He is ready for this guy to go, you motherfucker this, and he sees, there's the escalation. But here's the trick, my friend. You did not just escalate. You didn't start ahead of me, and you didn't just escalate above me. I'm up here, professional, calm, radar's on. I know your body language cues. I know the interpersonal communication cues. I know the behavioral cues. I have seen you. I have studied you. I know where you're going next because aggression is measurable. It moves up or it moves down. It's not random. Him going from one level and jumping to this level is not random. You go, oh, that's very interesting. You were at a 2 and you skipped to a 5. Very interesting that you didn't go through 3, 4. I mean, I totally get it. You thought that if you went from a 3 to a 5, I'd fill the prescription. You thought that that would terrify me. You thought that I wouldn't see that coming or wouldn't know what to do with that. Now, that's easy. You going from a 3 to a 5 just tells me that now I can do X, Y, and Z. Now I won't do my tactical request to get you to leave. I won't try my de-escalation techniques or my pacing the aggressor techniques. I will go straight to having you to physically remove you, or I'll go straight to X, Y, Z and myself. Because you see the balance of these things? So what you do is we call it having a primed mindset. The second you see a threat, they're going to come in, trigger escalation or crisis. But the second you sense it, you have to start with the primed mindset. You got to start on the high ground. And then you progressively de-escalate as the situation warrants it. If as your strategies, tactics, and tools impact this person and help to de-escalate, right? That help to remove or, redirect or whatever it is, as you start to get his aggression going down, then you can slowly de-escalate down with him. But guess what? You're always maintaining the high ground. You're never going to start up here and this guy goes blah, blah, blah. And then you do one strategy and he goes bam. And you go, oh, whoo, we're over. And then he goes, pow, pow, action, reaction. And you're on the wrong side of that dichotomy. There is no reaction faster than an action. And that includes mental. This is the whole thing about taking the high ground. You have to have a primed mindset. Is this track? Anything you guys want to throw in on this?
Yeah, I think you did a really good job of explaining the high ground to people, but just to try to make it even clearer for people. It's like you got a castle, you build it on a hill, got your army on top of there. What's your job? Just stay in your castle, keep it safe, keep the people safe. Another army shows up, bottom of the hill, right? You see you got the high ground, like you said, you have all the strategy, the tactics. That army tries to come up the hill, you've got the advantage. They don't come up the hill. You don't have to run down the hill and murder them. You just stay at the top of the hill, keep the high ground.
Yeah.
Same thing in the pharmacy scenario. You're ready for someone to come in and flip out, lose their mind, become violent physically, maybe it's just verbally. You're ready for it. If they don't do it, it doesn't mean you're all of a sudden going to now be incapable of kindness and niceness and politeness and professionalism. Like they're not one and they're not two separate things, right? So just trying to point out to people, like, just because you're starting at the high ground doesn't turn you into a different person. You're just ready for, should they start to escalate, you've got the upper hand.
100%. Another great analogy, right?
And I didn't want to start with an analogy because I know I'm the analogy guy.
No,
I tried to sneak it in there.
It was perfect. It was perfect. And the thing is exactly what you just said. Off your analogy about, like, just because you're ready and you've got your castle and your army on the high ground, and just so everyone knows, the high ground is always the safest ground because from there you can see what's coming. Simple analogy. From that, you said, well, it doesn't mean you can't be nice and polite and smile and courteous and helpful and all those things. Matter of fact, it makes it easier. Because think about this. Here's another analogy. Think about two teams playing football. Think of any game. Everyone's played sports, so we can relate to it. Two football teams. They get set. One side's about to snap the ball. So everybody's set up. Imagine one side who's sitting on their asses with their legs crossed. Like the game's over. Like they're in intermission. Now, when the ball gets snapped, can they do anything? Other than panic? Nope. Your whole thing about being nice, when you're set and you're ready, you can be anything you want. When that ball gets snapped, you can sit the fuck down if you want to. When that ball gets snapped, you can turn and run the other way. You can walk off the field calmly. Or you can drive forward, try to bust through the line and take the quarterback down. You can do whatever you want to do if you're ready. But you got to be ready, and then you can make a choice. And it's easier. You got to think, good people have a good, strong moral compass. That's what's influencing your decisions. But without the strategies, tactics, and tools, without having understood and mastered the tool of violence, you have zero option. You have no option to defend. You have only one option. We have two options. Well, really one. One is to surrender. The second option is to beg for mercy. You can either do nothing and lie down like a victim, just lie there and let them do whatever they're going to do, or you can take an action of begging them for mercy. that kind of thing. Okay, so so hopefully everyone understands this prime mindset. Now how do you get this? You get this by, like I said, studying the gorillas in the mist, studying aggressive behavior. I already labeled it off. There's 3 different areas: body language, behavior, and interpersonal communication. So I'm going to let's throw a few specifics out there. I'll throw one out. You guys can jump in and throw one out. We're not necessarily going to do this in any specific order, although we do teach it in a very specific order. We call this the PIN index. Okay, what are the pre-incident indicators? We go from trigger phase to escalation to crisis, and we show you all of the different pins of how it changes body language, behavior, and interpersonal communication. And that's how we teach you the system, because like a chart, you can measure it going up, measure it going down, in others as well as yourself. I'm going to throw a few things out here, right? Okay, 1, I'll start with this because this is exactly what Jaron had faced in his pharmacy. You got a guy that comes in and he's agitated. Now, Jaron is standing behind a little half counter where people come over for the consults, and so he's got a little half counter with a little flip gate there, or I think it opens this way maybe. And these people walked up, and this guy's very aggressive to him. He's yelling, he wants these drugs, and he wants this. And Jaron's, being polite. I can't this. Now he's got his body bladed. He's being polite, but he's ready. This guy's agitated. He's thinking, holy shit, like if this guy goes off, I got other customers right here. He could grab one of those guys. He could go at one of my staff. I got this thing here. He could try to come in at me to get the narcotics. But he's standing there, and he tells me, okay, well, this guy then comes forward. He's yelling at me. Then he turns and he walks away, 8 feet. Then he comes back in, yells at me some more, turns, walks away, 10, 12 feet, comes back in. He's going in and he's going out. He's going in and he's going out. Okay, I want you to understand, when you're dealing with somebody who is on the aggression continuum, they're going from trigger to escalation to crisis, they're moving up. Okay, people coming in and out, pacing in and pacing out of your range is a sign of mid to high escalation, not trigger phase, mid to high escalation when they're taking up that type of distance. Why is that? Let's understand what the symbolism is of it. I'm standing in front of you saying, I want this and give me this, and I'm agitated and my hands are probably moving and my head's throwing back and all this type of shit. Then all of a sudden I walk away from you. Now maybe I turn and I don't look at you, or maybe I just back up, but I back up, and then I come, you filled this for me last time, you need to fill this, and then I back away, and then I come forward again. What's the message here? Get past all the theatrics, what's the message? The guy is showing you he's taking control of the range, and as he backs out and he says, F you and this, and give me this, and give me this, then he comes back into your space. It is the posturing threat. Think of like an elephant, or think of like even a gorilla, and they beat the chest, and the elephant's trunk goes up, and the ears puff out big. Then all of a sudden, like a bear, there's a fake charge. The bear charges forward, the elephant charges forward, and then just before it gets into the range where it would actually impact, it pulls up. Pulls up, the ears go big. The gorilla pulls up and beats its chest. Okay, the bear charges and stops and stands up and growls and paws at the air. Well, the human being is no different. Now, you can have it at different speeds, right? They back up. What do they back up? 5, 6 feet. Then they come forward 4 feet. That was a very soft charge. They're judging your reaction. Oh, fuck you. I dare me there. Oh, come on. And they come in. They're seeing, whether it's conscious or subconscious, they're looking for the reaction. Remember, they're posturing, wanting you to submit. Why? Because of damage limitation. They want what they want. They don't want to have to put themselves in a situation where they're vulnerable. Now, remember, you have somebody that is chemically altered, mentally altered. They can go through these stages very, very quickly, but we're dealing with just one specific thing. So as this was happening to him, I was saying, well, listen, you've had a number of different people do this. He texted me today, an hour before this, dealt with another person today, but he did something different. So last week he dealt with a couple of people and they were doing this to him. And I said, what was the distance? At first it was 5 feet coming in, back 3, go 5, come back in 3. Then it was back out 8, come back in 7. Then it was back out 10 or 12 and come back in 8. Guess what's happening? The charge is building. 5 feet to 4 feet. Give 5, come in 4. Give 5, come in 4. That doesn't seem to be working. Let's give 8, come in 7. Fuck it, let's give 12 or 15 and let's come back in. We could come in slow, we can come in fast. The charge is building. So based off other body language cues, other interpersonal communication skills, I understood and helped Jaron understand that where they were was mid. Not high escalation, mid escalation. So they had a little bit before crisis. Now again, you have to be ready for that big jump. But again, that's why we start primed mindset. Remember, we're not behind the curve, we're ahead of them. We're progressively de-escalating based off the evidence, not progressively escalating. It's not, oh, they went up, I better come up. Oh, they went up again, I better come up. You're reactive. So what I said to him is, if that happens again with these other signs, come out from behind your gate, like come out so that you're now out in a very nonviolent, we have the Trojan horse, the nonviolent presentation. So it's you don't put up his shields, you don't make him feel like you're threatening to him. So he came out in his nonviolent presentation, body bladed, using submissive body language cues to say, I'm not a threat to you, but still being very professional and very focused. And what happens is every time this guy backed up, Jaron slowly and not in a straight line took space forward. And guess what happened? This guy's like, I give 8 feet. I'm going to come in 7. I give 8 feet. Oh, fuck. He came forward 3-4 feet. You guys ever watch The Dog Whisperer? You ever see Cesar Millan work his shit? You ever see him when he goes against an aggressive dog? Sometimes he picks up a tennis racket and the dog barks, and the dog snarls, and then the dog backs up. And when the dog backs up, he takes a step forward. Dog backs up, he takes a step forward, and he just sits there. No touch, no talk, no eye contact. Right? He's just calm, submissive, and like calm, assertive energy. Not calm, submissive, calm, assertive. He would not like that. Calm, assertive. But he's just relaxed. And then he takes up. What does he say? This is my territory. I'm not a threat to you. I'm not going to harm you. But you're barking, you're growling, you're posturing. I see it for what it is. Got to understand something. A gorilla can posture another gorilla all day long. But don't forget, I'm a fucking gorilla too. Meaning what? I get it. I get the game. I know how the game's played. Peacock fluffs his feathers to strut his shit. I have feathers too. I understand what you're doing. When this guy, when Cesar Millan works a dog and the dog's aggressive, he understands the behavior. So he's not intimidated by it. He doesn't cause fear in him because he's not misunderstanding. That's why he also knows there might be a dog where he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do it this way because he will bite. He will cross the crisis. I'm going to go a different way so that I don't get fucking bit. Either way, it doesn't scare him though. If this dog's going to bite me, he's going to bite me. He's just doing it because of X, Y, Z. It doesn't affect him. And this is the way we get when you Diane Fossey violence. Got to study this shit. So when Jaron stepped forward and the guy went to come back in, he couldn't. And Jaron said, it changed the game. He did not expect it. It interrupted his blueprint. Because all of a sudden you're saying, this is my pharmacy. These are my customers. This is my staff. Calm, assertive behavior. Up here, fully primed mindset, on the high ground, blueprints at the ready, strategies, tactics, and tools at the ready. And this guy, when he met with that, what did it do? It took the wind out of his fucking sails and he started to de-escalate. He lost the initiative. And the second he lost the initiative, that gave Jaron, not only did he have the high ground mentally, but now he had the high ground physically, emotionally, physiologically. Does this make sense? And this was the conduct, and then you're able to get the guy to actually leave or get the guy to comply and do whatever you need to do. So this is, again, I just wanted to play that out because one of the things of the pacing in and out, but most people are like, what is pacing? Well, you'll fall victim to the charge. If you don't think that there's differences, they look very, very similar. I'll tell you what, there's 2 analogies because Dustin loves them. I'll throw one back at you. I'm a zoologist. I work at a zoo. I take you as my guest on a tour of the zoo. And we go into the gorilla cage. We go into the bear enclosure. We go into the tiger enclosure and we're standing there. And the tiger all of a sudden starts to look agitated. Your asshole puckers up a little bit tighter. I'm still pretty calm. That tiger makes a charge for us, but I don't move. But you back up 3 feet. Who do you think that tiger's going for? It's going for you because you backed up. But I grab you and say, don't fucking move. And so you steady yourself, you asshole puckered tight, lips puckered tight, eyes as big as plates, and you stand there trying to pretend you didn't just shit yourself. The tiger stops. Still agitated, paces back and forth, walks away. Then the tiger gets ready again, and he makes a charge again. And this time you stand tight, ass puckered, lip puckered, eyes big as plate, but you look to your left, and I ain't fucking standing there. I'm running. I know the difference between a real charge and a false charge, right? So it's like a bomb tech. It has the t-shirt, I'm a bomb tech. If you see me running, you fucking better run. You know what I mean? Like, if you got a bomb tech and he's still there, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? If he's, if you see him running, you fucking better get hoofing too. This is what we're talking about. This is the gorillas in the mist study, right? Okay, give me, if you guys can, give me something else. Give me, just pick at random. Give me another indicator or sign, a study of the gorillas out of your years of study, and share it with everybody.
One that comes to mind is debating. So in a situation where there is a level of aggression and a level of agitation and escalation, where it's both sides are still kind of having this back and forth, right? The guy that is kind of coming in will say, like, the bad guy, he might blah 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 whatever, do this, that, next thing, and he waits for a response, and then you could respond appropriately, and then he might be like blah blah blah, almost like kind of like what you said with the charge. It's like he charges blah blah blah, but just doing it verbally. Then he sits and waits for a response, right? So this is a situation that you could find yourself in where the person that you're dealing with is still listening and still is taking in information and is having formalized thoughts and having a debate back and forth. So definitely not in the crisis stage. I think you could have a couple different levels of this. This could be a low, mid, and even high parts of the escalation, right? But they're still able to have the conversation about what the topic happens to be that they're debating on at that point in time.
100%. And again, everybody's seen a debate, right? So those two words are very important, like you just said, debating versus hardening. In a debate, we go back and forth. I say what I want, and I can say it passionately with 100% conviction, but I stop and I listen to you. Then there's a point when we lose control of the debate. Yes. And I just start yelling at you, even though my time's up, right? So 100%, excellent cue. Debating versus hardening. When somebody is listening and angry, but all of a sudden they harden and now they're talking over you, at you, and through you, they've hardened. That shows cognitive closure. They're not listening anymore. It means that it's a different level of receptiveness. Very, very excellent and often experienced pre-incident indicators. That's a really, really good one. Dustin, do you have anything?
Yeah, like the amount of eye contact. So
Perfect.
I'm the agitated customer in the pharmacy, and I'm interacting with the pharmacist. But as I'm talking to him, I'm still like, I'm looking at my prescription in my hand. I'm pointing at it. I'm looking at it. I'm saying, this guy over here understands what I'm talking about. I'm pointing at looking at another customer. I'm like, I was in here last month, and your staff over there, she helped me. And you're looking at they're looking at the staff. So the eye contact is still elsewhere. They're still glancing other places. But then, like in Brad's situation, as they start to harden, that focus is going to start to fixate. They're going to start to stare. You know what I mean? They're going to start to treat you, objectify you, treat you more like an object. And that's going to be a sign that this person is starting to escalate up through that phase.
Perfect. I was going to make sure that we mention this one, and how we boil this down is to staring. So what he's talking about tunnel vision, fixation, which is, if someone stares at you, and you mentioned this, you said this, I'll just clarify it a bit. Staring, human beings do not stare at other human beings. We stare at inanimate objects. We stare at television screens too often. We stare at movies and sunsets and pictures and all kinds of shit. But one human being staring at another human being for any real prolonged length of time is objectification. It is emotionally distancing us from that person, meaning on some level, we are objectifying, meaning turning them into an object, turning them into a painting, a picture, a sunset, something. And oftentimes we're doing it in a very toxic way. So we are emotionally distant. If we can deny somebody's humanity, it becomes much easier for us. If we don't see them as similar to us, we don't see them as human, we see them as something else, it's easier for us to do damage or potentially murder that individual or that thing. Okay, so staring, if they're looking around, their eyes breaking contact, they're looking at other staff, all of this stuff, that shows that they're still lower, either mid to high trigger or low escalation. But like Dustin said, the second all of a sudden their eyes, their gaze start to become fixated at, they start staring at you, they are emotionally distancing from you in some way, shape, or form. You're becoming objectified in their mind, different. Okay, and everyone's felt that intense stare, that awkward stare, but recognize when the eyes are staring, the brain is cognitively fixating. And when human beings are in aggressive conflict type situations, the sympathetic nervous system, the body's biochemistry is changing. And you see people's face goes flush red when they get mad because blood is surging up. But then all of a sudden you see their face go from red to like ashy gray, like whitish, but you see blood literally draining out of their face. That is blood draining out of their forebrain, where we think and problem solve and rationalize, where consequences and reactions to things, all of that logic, blood literally starts to leave the forebrain. If there's no blood in the forebrain, you can't think, you can't rationalize, you can't go, oh, if I do this, I could face this. There is no consequences because you can't think that way. You become part of the mammalian world. So staring emotionally distances, we're objectifying, meaning our brain thinks in terms of symbols. I'm turning you into an inanimate symbol, something different from me, a lower class, a lower life form, whatever it is. We're distancing that way. Okay, so I want you to understand it's not just a visual thing; it's a cognitive, emotion. It's so many different levels that's happening. And you tied in, Dustin, very nicely to Brad's. The debating, still talking, debating, listening, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden hardening and staring. And what do you think? Hardening and staring, and all of a sudden I'm back out and I'm back in. But now as I back up, I'm disconnecting, and then when I come back in, I'm coming back in squared off. I'm coming back in chin out, eyes forward. I fucking need you to feel this thing, and I'm coming at you that way. All of a sudden you're starting to see connection, correlation between body language, interpersonal communication, and behavior patterns. And it is not one indicator that we base our actions off of. It is the connection, the correlation, the understanding between all three that give us the certainty. Ask Diane Fossey what a gorilla's doing. She's not, well, one time when I was up there for a long weekend and I saw the gorillas, I saw a gorilla do this once or twice. So I wrote that down as a thing. No, years of studying the behavior of the gorillas in the mist. She could weed out the inconsequential things and see and thin slice and see the core of what she needed to understand to really be able to understand and reasonably track or measure their behavior and action patterns. Does that make sense? Now, you do not have to be Diane Fossey. Somebody has to have put the work in. I didn't put the work in. I've done a lot of the work. I've continued my study with it. But my mentors, my instructors, their instructors before them, physiologists, psychologists, there are people that have specialized in studying violent behavior, studying criminal elements. And they have built the profiles. Just like the behavioral profile, here's the blueprints. All you had to have was people who go, oh, I should study this. I should apply this to self-protection versus a martial art. Maybe at one time, used in warfare, it was martial. Now it's just the art. Or combat sport where they are studying athleticism. They're studying athletes competing against each other. It's such a fucking different language. Okay? It's like Russian and English. They're not similar. Not at all. They're totally different. Right? I don't care how fluent you are in English, you don't understand or speak Russian. Right? This is violence. This is the same thing. But I'm just trying to get people, it's not the work you think it is, because you're standing on the shoulders of people who have done it. All you need to do is have somebody teach you this little index. And we literally have it written out in index cards. What are the body language, behavior, and interpersonal communication? What are the pins, the pre-incident indicators that I need to know for trigger phase? Oh, that's it? Yep. Oh, well now what about for escalation? Oh, that's it? Yep. What about for crisis? Yep. Oh, got it. Now I just have to practice seeing those. Oh, no problem. So in every time we're training, everything we're doing, we are not just saying, oh, here, I got you by the throat. How do you counter that? We are starting the scenario, the training, with the pre-incident indicator. What did you see? What level of escalation? Why did you do what you did? How did that cause a reaction? What was the reaction, or what was the state change in your physiology and your mindset? And we teach you how to measure this stuff. And we always get you, take the high ground. Right away, you take the high ground. If you have somebody comes in, if you have, and I'll use this because most people can relate to this. I have 2 daughters. Dustin, you have a daughter. Brad, you have a daughter. And this is the same for our son. It makes no difference. I just say daughter because we're men. We're emotionally like, my daughter. I'd still be the same way with my sons. But there is a guy that gives my daughter, puts goosebumps up the back of her fucking neck. Makes her hair stand on end. When that happens, I want her mindset, her emotions, her physiology, and her physical body to get on the fucking high ground fast. And that's why the biggest thing that I've taught my kids in their young lives so far is not the physical has not been the dominant part of our training. The dominant part of our training in their young formative years is the mindset. Teaching and talking blueprints, teaching and talking pins, showing them what persuasion predators do, showing them what forced teaming looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. When Prince Charming tries to charm you with his smile, but then tries to fucking, wears the mask and comes off and he's got evil intent behind it. It's that stuff. Because right away what happens, whether they see it, hear it, or feel it coming, their brain goes to the high ground right away. I'm going to progressively de-escalate. Something about you, I don't know what, I don't fucking trust you. So I can smile at you. I can yes, sir, yes, ma'am, you all day long. But in my mind, my blueprints are open. I am watching and studying your interpersonal communication, your behavior, your body language. I'm mapping all of it. And make no mistake, as I see the evidence pop up on the theater of my mind, as I become aware of this and your attempt to manipulate me, hidden behind your ruse of cunning and niceness and charm and smiles and all that bullshit, I'm already taking fucking action. You know what I mean? Like, you think you've been planning your shit all day. I've been planning it all fucking week. You know what I mean? Like, you're not getting the initiative on me. And just as quickly as they go, oh, you're a little bit weird at first. This is subconscious conversation. But you know what? Turns out you're just a little awkward. De-escalate, 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 de-escalate as it is warranted. Until eventually you might go, you know what? We started off, I was a little uncertain, but that was a few months back and we're good friends. And if their behavior changed, up it comes again. Progressively de-escalate. Trusting your intuition, trusting what you know to be there. We survive on our instincts. Every animal, every species survives off instincts. The intellectual brain, we've talked about this lots, tends to want to fuck up our wild brain. It tends to want to interfere and try to apply reason and logic to our intuitive survival instincts. Weaponizing is about tapping into the wild, intuitive, primal part of ourselves when it comes to our survival. And the only difference is we're putting an edge on it like a surgeon's scalpel. Right? We're taking what we were born with, our greatest gift, our survival instincts and intuition and all that stuff, and we're fucking sharpening it. We're making it better. We're honing it, building it into something even more devastating to people that would attempt, to the predators that would attempt to prey on us.
I'll share one thing real quick, just having your sip there. I couldn't help, I had to stop myself from smirking. You started talking about your kids and what you've been teaching them, because right away I had a memory pop into my head from like maybe a month ago or something like that. And I actually forget if it was my son to my daughter or my daughter to my son. I think they've both done it to each other, but they were fighting about something. And one of them, I think it was Braxton's it's like, oh, Harmony's a persuasion predator. You're being a persuasion predator. Because I've taught them, like you said, I've taught them the set signs and like strategies that persuasion predators do. And so one of them, whichever one it was discounting the word no. The one was trying to say no to something and they weren't taking no for an answer. And so they kept going, you're being a persuasion predator. And I just laughed because I'm like, that's awesome though,
that's
right?
Awesome. Yep.
But just to have that understanding that that's what's out there, that's what they might face in life. And like, yeah, they did it jokingly and stuff, but because they know it, they understand 100%. It, right? So it's like you said, it's not just about the physical, but to have that stuff at a young age is just so powerful for them, right? But
100%. And the thing is, like, friends do it to us all the time. They use the same tactics as a persuasion predator because we all are attempting to try to control and manipulate those around us. Let's all. You guys want to go see a movie next week? Sure. What movie? I want to go see the movie I want to see. So you say, I don't know if I want to see it. Oh, listen, if you come, I promise you. I'm doing the persuasion predator tag. I'm trying to get you. If we do this together, I'm using all the same things. Only difference is my motives are, I won't say they're not nefarious because I'm trying to manipulate you to get what I want, but they're minimalistic in terms of evil intent, right? I'm not trying to harm you. I'm just trying to think this would be great if we saw what I'd like to see, and you're trying to do the same thing back to me. So it's awesome to recognize these, and at such a young age for your kids to be able to do that is exactly what we're looking for. That is so much. That has made them infinitely safer compared to saying, look at my kid and look at the armbar. He knows 6 different ways to do, neck chokes or whatever, the ankle locks or whatever, right? It's like that, and that's good too. But that is not the foundation with which you should build personal protection on, right? If you want your kid to get, try to become the next Conor McGregor, start teaching him jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, Thai boxing at a young age, sure. But personal protection is the foundation is built off what we're talking about tonight. It's built off the mindset, the perceptions, the blueprints, our understanding, all of the domain knowledge, that kind of stuff. Okay, we're already at about an hour, guys. I think we'll wrap it up. I'd like to throw out a few more, but I think this has been a ton of information in this one. Hopefully everybody has pulled something from this. I'm just going to recap real quick. Most people are conditioned just through life, or they've been trained to go bottom top. My last analogy will be the police. Police are often taught to show up on scene, and they show up ready, but as they're progressively escalate. I showed up and the person became more agitated, so I went to here. Then they did this and I went to here. They did this and I went to this. And as it plays out for officer safety, they did a number of FBI studies and stuff, and they found that officer safety is often greatly compromised, means the officer is at much greater risk because of this continuum that they have been taught to progressively escalate, meaning they're really in the reactionary curve. Whereas if they flip that and taught officers to progressively de-escalate, they would be much safer and they would have a much better resolution or outcome because of that just great officer safety type training. So do not confuse starting up here does not mean physiologically starting like you're in a life and death fight and treating people like you're in a life and death situation when they don't deserve that. No, it's the perception, the mindset, the officer safety, the civilian safety. Your mind goes up here to the high ground. You do an Overwatch. You can see what's coming, and then as you move into the situation, and you go, oh, this person's fine. This is this. Boop, 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 boop. We can progressively de-escalate, but we always maintain a level of readiness that is slightly above, or depending on what you need, above the person that we're dealing with. Right? So that, again, I'm going to, I guess, throw one more analogy. The security dog. A well-trained security dog, when he is on duty, waiting and receiving commands, is very different than when you take that dog to the dog park. That dog goes to the dog park and its tongue is out, its ears are back, its tail is wagging, and it is running, jumping, playing like every other dog in the place. Until it smells something, hears something, sees something, or feels something, the dog stops. Its ears perk up, its tail, the fur, it looks, it senses, it evaluates, and then it goes yes or no. If it's yes, it's a threat, it moves into a very different state. If it determines, nope, not a threat, goes right back to play. Never, ever, ever questions the fact that it checked out what was there, that it got ready, ever. That's wild instincts. That's survival instincts, right? Only thing is, as human beings, what's great? Our ears can perk up. We can be ready. Everything can go to that, like that guard dog where it's ready on command. The difference is we can smile. We can keep our shoulders relaxed. We can keep our hands in non-threatening but ready positions. We can disguise all of that readiness so that the person never knows that we were actually primed and ready. Does that make sense? The dog won't do that. The dog won't hide its intent. The dog doesn't give a fuck. We're more worried about politeness and shit. And sometimes you need to show that you're ready. And sometimes you need to Trojan horse that shit. And you need to not get their shields put up. Right? Okay. So that was that. Flip that, escalate that. We shared a couple other things: the in and out pacing, the debating versus hardening, the staring. Those are some of the pins that we share with you guys tonight. And we just want you to be safer and more prepared. Is there anything else? Any final thoughts you guys have?
Nope, I don't think so.
Nope. It's a big topic.
It's huge. It's huge.
There could be more thoughts.
I wish on this one actually we could push the camera out and we could actually demonstrate more of them and physically go through the pins and show people what it looks like, because that is powerful. But hopefully we did a good enough job explaining it and stuff. And I'll just throw real quick, Mac, you threw something up here saying that I would love to get your take on this incident, as it seems to have a lot of the indicators you guys are talking about. There's a clip to it. Obviously I can't see what that clip is from here. So I have a little bit of a busy day tomorrow, but you know what? If I can find the time, I'm going to check this out tomorrow. And if I can, I'll do a quick little bad guy blueprint breakdown on it. I'll go through it, I'll analyze it, and I'll post that. It depends. If it's a very visual thing, I'll post it in our Facebook group, and I'll also post it on our YouTube channel. So I won't put it to the podcast, because if you have to see it, you have to go someplace visual. So either you can check out and make sure you're following us on Facebook at Awaken the Protect Our Within, or make sure you check us out on YouTube, Awaken the Protect Our Within, and you can see all the videos of our podcast, as well as different bad guy blueprint breakdowns are up there. So lots of great stuff over there. We just kicked off the channel, so we don't have a lot of followers on it yet. So I would absolutely appreciate anyone that wants to follow, leave some comments, engage with us. We would love to have you there. So I'll do that, Mac. Check that out, and then you can look for a bad guy blueprint breakdown. And if I don't get to it tomorrow, I'll hit it first thing after the long weekend. I will throw it up there on Tuesday for sure. But I'm confident I'll be able to get it in tomorrow. So look forward to that.
Maybe what we should do too is we could do a live one with the three of us to explore more of the pins and indicators.
Like all three of us in the same room, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we just have to figure out the best way to videotape it. It's hard, but yes, 100%. We can do that one of these days. Matter of fact, we're going to start throwing, now that summer's here again too, there's a lot of things I'd like to do where we can be together and actually physically kind of demonstrate and go through some things. So we'll look forward to a few of those coming up as well. So yeah, lots of good stuff either way. All right, gents, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. Brad, Dustin, as always, super great to have you guys here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Mac, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, follow, share, comment, and couple things. If you head over to our webpage, you can check out, we have a 90-day intensive, a virtual intensive. You can do it from anywhere in the world. In 90 days, we are going to lay the full foundation for how to weaponize your mind and body against violence. It is a phenomenal course, 90 days anywhere in the world. Not only do we have on-demand training, you can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and access all of the lessons, but you get direct coaching with our entire team and staff here. So you're literally, we take you by the hand and walk you through everything. So check out the 90-day intensive. We have a really cool new one coming out. It's called the 4-month all-inclusive, where you get live training with us. We teach you a live private every single week for 4 months, 16 weeks. Plus you get all the on-demand. It's amazing. So 2 really cool new programs, the 90-day virtual intensive, the 4-month all-inclusive private coaching live. It's really, really cool stuff. Check it out on our website. And that's it. So stay safe, stay weaponized, everybody. We will chat again soon. Hey, thanks so much for listening. And listen, if you found this content valuable, here's 3 different ways that I can help you weaponize for free. First, grab a free copy of my ebook, The Education of a Weaponized Man. To get your free copy today, head to ebook.awakentheprotectar.ca. Number 2, you can take a free workshop where you will discover the 10 insights violent criminals don't want you to know. To take this workshop, head to workshop.awakentheprotectar.ca. The third way is to head to my website and check out all of my Freeline programs that cover everything from mindset to strategies. To check us out, go to awakentheprotectar.ca. And finally, leave a 5-star review so that we can reach more good people like you who are ready to weaponize and rise regardless.